Hello, everyone. I'm Mark,
And I'm Rob.
and welcome to Mark and Rob's Sports Showdown. We're going to have a definite showdown today. We're going to talk about all the four playoff series, so stick around for that. But make sure that you like and subscribe. And when you subscribe, hit that notification bell and feel free to make some comments and let us know what you think about the playoffs so far and what your predictions are for the playoffs. We're going to start with the Denver Nuggets, who are in big trouble. I don't think that's an overstatement. Not only they lose two games, they lost two games at home, and only six teams, some said five, but I found six on the internet, have come back from that. Like a 2% chance of winning after you lose at home. There's only a 2% chance. Six teams have only done it in NBA history. Right. So, Rob, what were your take on that particular two games, especially the last one?
I have to say I'm surprised. I'm shocked. First game, yeah, but the second game the Wolves still played much harder and were making shots, and Denver looked out of sorts. I don't know. They looked like the away team, like they were tired.
Okay, my take on that was might have been the best defense I've ever seen in my life for one game. This game two, in terms of, and it seemed to be, and I'm not into clutching, grabbing, holding, and stuff like that, but it seemed to be fairly clean defense. They were moving their feet, a type of defense, not the type of defense I just mentioned. And I was really impressed, especially with game two. And they were missing the four-time defensive player of the year, Rudy Gobert. Right. So they used another player instead, and I guess they all had at least 23 minutes. Seven players had at least 23 minutes or 26 minutes.
Uh-huh.
I was impressed. If they do that, they're going to win the NBA title. And as good as Boston.
Yeah, their defense. Well, the number one defense in the NBA this year, and it shows why. They have the length, like you said. They're sliding their feet, not reaching, and just playing really tough defense. Help them recover defense, which is me. I love defense, so I was very impressed.
Can you remember better clean defense? I'm not talking about Pistons dirty defense, but better clean defense that you ever seen?
I haven't seen it in a while. I haven't seen this type of defense in a while.
Yeah,
the Knicks are playing kind of good defense, but I'm sorry. As far as moving their feet and the length that they have, and using with the other people coming in, they're really good.
The length is going to be a problem. Solid. That's why Boston's definitely going to need Porzingis back for the finals if they make the finals and if they go against Minnesota, because they're going to need some more length on their team to compensate for what they have with Minnesota. So I was impressed. Obviously, then Anthony Edwards is exploding before our eyes. I mean, he exploded this summer and had a great year, and he was probably going to be like sixth in the MVP voting, my understanding. So it's not like this is a total shocker, but now people are comparing him to Michael Jordan at the same age, which I think is a bit of a stretch. He's not as good a defender as Michael Jordan, and he hasn't. Michael Jordan at age 21, last half of his rookie year, he was averaging around 35 points. He ended up with 28, but he started out the season slow. So let's chill a little bit on that. But I think next year, he may be the MVP next year, because I don't think San Antonio is going to win enough games for Victor Wembanyama, however you pronounce his name. He'll be the MVP maybe 2 years from now. But next year, Anthony Edwards could be the favorite, at least, to do that.
Yeah, he's definitely like a complete player. He's got it all. And yes, but to compare him to be Jordanist, no, not yet. He's got a long way to go. He's going, but
they're saying the one headline says, "Was he better at Jordan at age 22?" At age 22, Jordan was injured that year. He was 21 as a rookie, so that's not even a good comparison. And he didn't come in at the age 19 like Anthony Edwards. It gives him 3 years to get better in the league. But anyways, he looks like he's going to be a great player, and this is his coming out party, even more so than they're playing for the summer national team. But
so Mark, do you like the way people start comparing things to other players, he's Jordanistic or he's this? Do you like when they start doing that, when the person has even?
If it's a good comparison, if it's a fair comparison, I'm not sure this is a particular case. I think the big key in this series, though, is not the comparison, is that Jamal Murray is injured and his calf is injured, and obviously with that kind of defense and his injury, I think he got exasperated, and then as he started throwing things, I guess at first he threw a towel and it didn't quite get
Oh yeah, I
there. So
saw
he
that.
pulled it
Yeah,
back.
that was crazy.
Then he threw, I guess, a
Yeah, I saw
heating
that.
pad or a knee pad.
Yes, the heating pad. Yeah, that could have really
And
hurt somebody. It really could have hurt someone.
he was fined $100,000 yesterday for that. And
Right.
some people thought he should have been suspended. I think in a regular season game, maybe okay, but in the playoffs, to suspend a player for the next game, it's just so significant. I don't have a problem with
No,
the different standards for suspensions.
I think he should have been suspended. I mean, that's totally. He could have injured one of the players out there. That's totally disregard for. He's just being a little brat. So it's totally disregard for other players' safety. I think he should be. I think he should have been suspended.
Well, let's put it this way: it was out of character for him. So maybe they took into his history into consideration. He's never really been a problem for the league, unlike Draymond Green. Or
well, see, there we go. So then so he only has one thing. So I mean, that's the problem right there. So you're gonna.
No, I think your history. I think you should take into consideration your history because you haven't learned from your lessons. I don't agree with that, Rob. I think the different standard is okay for that.
So we both don't have kids. So if a kid does something wrong like that, are you gonna just let it slide? Well, it's your first time, kid. So I'm not gonna discipline you.
Well, they fined him $100,000. It's not like they didn't do anything.
That's $100,000 is nothing to them. That's like
big fine,
$10.
But that's not the point is, Rob, if your kid does it the second time, do you give him the same punishment as you do it the first time?
The first time you let them know that that's wrong. I mean,
right.
If you do something
that's
wrong.
That's what the $100,000 fine is.
Well, you let them know, right? I mean, I'm old school. I'm not going to let you just like give you a fine. I'm going to give you a spanking, and you're going to know like next time you do it, it's going to be even worse.
Well, I don't believe in spanking. But the point is, Rob, is that to not consider the person's history seems unfair. Also, why should they get the same benefit of the doubt as someone who's been perfect in the league the entire time?
But you're giving him the benefit of the doubt where he could have. Suppose that one of those players stepped on that heating pad.
Well, I'm not talking about that specific situation. I'm just talking about the concept of giving the benefit of the doubt. In other words, not having the same penalty for someone who has a perfect record in the league as opposed to someone who's done something 8 million times. I'm saying I have no problem with them having a different standard. In fact, they do have a different standard for that. I have no problem with them doing that.
So you're equating to like a lawyer. So the guy's a first-time offender. You're not going to throw him in jail for 20 years. You're going to maybe say, hey,
I think that's fair.
Oh, okay, you do it that way.
In this particular incident, that's a different concept. Whether he should have been suspended or not, I don't know. I think I have no problem with having a higher standard for suspensions for the playoffs than regular season. It's so significant. It's only a 7-game series. You know, this series would be over if he was suspended. I think it's over anyways because I think he's injured, and I don't think they're going to come back.
Well, they play. I mean, he's injured, but I mean they won without him. He's been hurt most of the year, so I mean, I can't. These injuries you can't use that as an excuse.
6 games or 56 or something. I don't think.
I mean, that's an excuse. They could win without him. I mean, he makes. But I mean,
Rob,
yes, he makes.
Winning the regular season without a star player is different than winning in the playoffs, especially when you're up against the number 1 seed in the West. The star player makes more of a difference as the quality of the opponents go up. So winning the regular season.
When the Knicks beat the 76ers without Randall, that was just some fake miracle that the Knicks beat the 76ers without Randall.
No, that was because the refs stole game 2 for the Knicks.
Yeah, oh my gosh, you're talking like a loser.
No, it should have been a 7-game series. It should have been 3-3 at the end of that.
It should have been 4-1. It should have been 4-1. Actually, not.
No, the refs like New York. Obviously, we saw the other game. We saw the game the other night in Indianapolis where they got a benefit of almost every call. And
there we go.
The league knows the league. I don't think the league has a conspiracy, but the league does know that the Knicks Boston series will get higher ratings than Indianapolis Boston. Tell me that's not true.
No, that's not the point. You and other people who keep on saying the referees are causing the other team to lose.
Not necessarily lose, but Rob, go look at the Indianapolis.
Wait, let me finish.
Go look at the game. First, they call a foul that's not a foul. Then they call a foot thing without a foot. Then they call a pick, which is a lame pick call. I mean, there was no.
Was it a foul? Was that pick a foul or not? He was a moving pick. It was a foul.
No, I don't think it was a call that should have been made.
I didn't ask you a question.
I think it was a very slight move, which happens on most pick.
So that's a foul. That's a foul.
No, if that's a foul, then it has to be called in every foul that do that, but they don't do it.
But they don't do that, though. They don't call everything. The game would be like 3 or 4 hours long if they did that. They can't call every foul.
I know, but they can't suddenly call at the end of the game if they weren't calling a slight move before, which is what they did.
Was it a foul?
Rob, this was a completely different pick than the one in Connecticut versus Iowa. The woman in the let me finish. The woman in the Connecticut game took a big step and then put her shoulder and hip into the defender. In this particular case, there was no shoulder or hip into the defender, and he took a slight slap. It does matter. It's a big difference. That's why the game was the correct call in Connecticut game, but it wasn't in this one.
Because you pointed out one time, you said, well, the movement of the foot, because we were arguing about that. You said, oh, it's the movement of her foot. And I was saying,
but it was slight.
You said, well, so it's still a foul. Doesn't matter if it's slight.
No. It isn't if they're not calling that all game. That's done 40 times a game, and then they suddenly call it. That's
not even logical. How can you say that? It's not even logical.
Because you have to have the same standard through the whole game, Rob. You can't suddenly call a moving pick when you didn't call it the first 40 times for the exact same slight move.
Well, it wasn't that many. There wasn't that many. Maybe it wasn't called because it wasn't happening during the game. Maybe that one was very obvious.
Those slight pick calls happen throughout all the games all the time, and it just wasn't. It just wasn't enough of a moving pick to call. That's what I'm saying.
But it was a foul. It was foul, right?
Anything slight you could say is a foul, but if it's not going to be a foul if you're not calling it all season long or all year long or all 40 games. Well, then, so you just like because it benefited the Knicks. You don't really think that should have been called. If it was the other way around, Rob. No way you'd be saying right now that should have been called. There's no way.
That's your
0% chance of that.
No, you're
0% chance of you, an Indianapolis fan, you'd be saying that should be called.
You say it's a foul, but then you whine about it, saying, "Well, they should have called it." But it's a foul. But you're whining, saying, "Oh, but they should have called it." Why not?
Rob, if someone touches a person in the back with a hand, and it's a hand check, that's a foul too, but it happens a million times a game.
The game would be 4 hours. Mark, the game would be 4 hours long if they called everything that you're thinking about.
Touching, Rob, what I just said was correct. Whatever. If this happened against the Knicks instead of for the Knicks, you'd be crying right now.
No, I'm not crying.
I'd be getting out hankies and Kleenex, and you'd be waking up and you say, and the first thing you'd say if we start the recording today is, "I'm angry, Rob. They got robbed last night." That's what you'd be saying.
Oh, no. I wouldn't. How do you know? No. But you know what? It didn't happen that way. It didn't happen. So.
Well, it didn't happen. That's why. And you're happy about it, but that doesn't mean it was the right call.
No, my point is that everybody keeps whining about the refs. The refs this, the refs that. They determine the game.
Well, of course you're not whining. Twice you got at the end of the game, you got the benefit of the calls. Of course you're not whining about it. If you were not a Knicks fan, you'd be whining about it. That's my point.
Oh, there were some other calls in the games. Well, I was whining about where there was a little touch foul there, and then they called a foul, and I was whining during the whole game. During the whole game.
This is two games the Knicks have gotten the benefit of the calls at the end of the game, and they're pretty clear calls.
A wrong call.
I mean, the first foul call that they had a challenge will look clean in live play. I don't know how they got that call wrong, but it was like I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
There was a block. Brunson blocked the ball, and they did a replay on that. And they overturned it. So I'm like, why are you over? I mean, you mean
I know there's no point. Like, one call they got wrong against the Knicks, it got overturned. So they got the benefit of every call basically that was right or wrong.
No,
the Knicks lost at that point.
So the Knicks won the game because of the referees. Is that what you're saying?
They're definitely they might have. Yeah.
Not that Indiana.
Rob, it would have been if they had gotten that. Rob, if it was 115 to 115 with like 40 or 50 seconds off. If they had gotten that, let me finish. You asked me a question, then you're not going to answer. Okay. If it called properly, which is not a non-call where he blocks with his hand, they had a 4-on-1. You don't think they're going to go up to 117 to 115 instead of going down? They got a 3-point play. Senzo got a 3-point play, right? Okay. So instead of 117, 115 into the Pacers, it goes up 118, 115 Knicks. Huge difference with 50 seconds left, Rob.
Well, but see, that's what I mean. People keep on going on that point you just made. The game was tied up. You're not thinking about, okay, Indiana was up by 5 or 6 points. Now, how can they, I mean, freaking Obi steals the ball, does this freaking between the legs dunk thing, and then they're both celebrating, and then the Knicks come down and score and hit a 3-pointer. Like, what are you doing? So I mean,
what does that have to do with the refs the Knicks getting the benefit of the call?
You have to factor in that the other circumstances ahead of that. Why did it get to 115? How did it get to 115? Was that the refs'
That's
fault?
irrelevant to whether or not.
No, it's not irrelevant.
Benefited the Knicks.
It's not irrelevant. If you have the lead, just like Tupac said, handle your business.
Rob, it's not that easy that you have the lead, keep it, and then games are going to be close.
Yeah,
So
but close it out. If you got the lead, close the game
they
out.
tried
Then you don't have
closing
to
it out,
worry
and
about the
all the
referees.
calls went against them.
If you close out the game, you don't have to worry about the referees and the whining.
That's
and
not
saying
true.
refs
That's
fault.
not true, Rob. It's not that easy. It's like
It is easy. Just win the game.
let's say you're in a wrestling match, okay, and you have to, and the other person's very close to your ability level, and you're gonna win the match if you get the right calls. But sometimes you get the wrong calls, you lose the match. And you say, well, you should have won by 10-5. No, it's not that easy to win by 10-5. You're pretty evenly matched. It's same thing in basketball. They're pretty evenly matched. It's not so easy to just close it out.
It's
It's
not
just
so easy
not,
to close
Rob.
it out.
You're being
How do
unrealistic.
you know?
You're just saying that because New York
you
got
gotta
the calls. You zero
No
chance you
way.
were making this argument for the foot
No.
the shoe was on the other foot.
No,
0% chance.
I'm just saying.
know
No,
you.
I'm just saying. You guys are falling into referees' fault. Referee, you're going into the wrong thing. You're crying about the referees and how the referees.
That's
are
not
doing
true,
this and
Rob.
that.
Rob, when the referees determine the game at the end of the
They don't
at the
determine
end.
the game. It's a player. It's a.
all right,
you
all
don't
right.
know
I can't wait till
circumstance.
the Knicks get screwed over at the end of a game, and
They've been
and
screwed
say
over. They
just
got
the
screwed
opposite
over.
you're saying right
They
now.
got screwed over
And
against
that's what's gonna
Philadelphia.
happen. That's
They
what's
got
going to
screwed
happen,
over.
Rob.
They got screwed over against Philadelphia. Embiid should have been thrown out of the game. He freaking tried to
See
injure
what
a
I mean?
person.
It's
And then he's injured. So,
see what I mean?
did you see me crying
That's
about
what
that,
threw it
though?
out.
Did you see me crying
What is
about that?
I
That
can't
Embiid
wait for
should have
them to get screwed at the end of a game, Rob.
They already got screwed. They
Just
already
the
it's already
opposite.
happened
And
to
I'm
them.
going to replay what you said here today, right
They've-
before
they've-
you start whining and
They've-
crying about the
they've-
refs.
They've already been screwed already. Freaking Embiid had 20 free throws, more than the Knicks did, and he should have been thrown out of the game. Three times. They let
I
him go.
can't wait, Rob. I'm going to
you know,
replay. I'm going to. We don't even do replays right now in our channel. I can't wait to replay that part of your argument. We both agree that. We both agree. Let me finish. We both agree that Denver is extremely unlikely to win. Almost 0% chance of them winning this series. But who knows? You know, they are the champions. You know, maybe his calf gets better. You know, who knows? They got the best player in the league. I don't want to say there's zero chance, but there's 2% is probably a good thing. The way
I don't think
the defense is going to stop in that series. That
Yeah,
defense
I don't
is not going to stop. They got 8
I don't think
players
either-
now. They figured out instead of even they use 7 players. They had like 26 or 23 minutes, and then they use another 7 players, an additional player. I guess Anderson suddenly got more minutes, and now they figured out they can use 8 players, and they could run around and play. It's almost like a press zone. It's so intense. No wonder they had such trouble against it. I don't think it's Denver's fault. They just weren't ready for it. They weren't used to that type of intense defense. And this is why the NBA playoffs are so good and why the regular season sucks. Because the defense sucks during the regular season, and it's boring, and I don't like it, and that's why I love the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think even if his calf injury, it's not going to make any difference. They might win a 1 game or 2, but I don't think it's going to make any difference with this series.
Rob, I don't know what you call it when you compare the defense and the excitement in the regular season, the playoffs, and the NBA. Night and day is not even a strong enough word. I could say the dark side of the moon and maybe the bright sun. That's how different the playoffs is. And you watched that game the other night. I was so impressed with the defense and so impressed with the intensity of that game. It was so exciting just to see the intensity to me, instead of all this offense where they're scoring 130 points and people are traveling all over the place, and that's why the offense is going.
Right, their hands are all over the place. They were intercepting passes. They were stealing the ball, and they're just playing solid defense. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, night and day is too mild to call that. It was just like you said. I agree with you. It was like sun and dark side of the moon. It was fantastic. They were really intense, very intense.
So let's talk about okay. So the Knicks series is tonight, Game 3. Wait, I'm sorry. Game 2. Only Game 2. I apologize. Game 2, and that's tonight at 8:00 on TNT. It's in New York, and I guess you think the Knicks are going to win tonight.
Yeah, they're going to win.
Okay, and you got them in 5. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. I got them in 6. My chances are less now that New York got a game that was not handed to them, but certainly gave them a 50% chance of winning that they shouldn't have had. Let's put it that way. It should have gone either way, and said New York won. All right, so which we already talked about. So we got Cleveland and Boston. That was pretty much a blowout by the second half. I only watched the first half to tell you the truth because I could see where it was going.
No, I didn't even watch that game. I already knew it was going to be a blowout. It's going to be 4-0 for this.
Well, I wanted to watch the second game and be awake for it, so I took a little nap after the halftime. And then second half, they blew them out even more. But I could see the direction it was going. They got Donovan Mitchell and not a lot else to really compete with Boston just has too much, and they just have too much offense for Cleveland just can't keep up with them. And I don't see that series going very long. Donovan Mitchell may have a great game and they're going to win like game 3 or something like that. But
no, he's going to have to score 60 points in order for them to win. And then Garland, well, they have the guard. There's still Garland and Garland. If he gets hot, he kind of helps them a little. But as far as scoring, and then their defense is horrible. So that's another thing. They don't play any defense. So
that's another problem. Boston at least has decent defense, but and also Boston has too much. I mean they got White coming out now and being one of their leading scorers half the time. He was 7 for 12 and 3 points yesterday. He gets hot, and that the offense is unstoppable because they just have too many weapons with Tatum and Brown and stuff like that.
And the Celtics are 37-4 at home. So they've only lost 4 games home.
Right,
lost 4 home games.
Too. So that series I'm looking forward to the Western Conference Finals because I don't think any of these series, unless Indianapolis gets hot, the other teams I don't think have much of a chance. They just doesn't look. It looks like they're mismatches to me. So we'll find out. We already talked about the Timberwolves and Nuggets. We talked about that, and we talked about the Celtics. Dallas Mavericks. Okay, that Dallas Mavericks and OKC last night. That I watched that game. You didn't watch that game last night?
No, I watched it. Of course, I watched it.
Oh, you did watch it? Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. I don't see Dallas having much of a chance. Here's the problem. Luka Doncic is injured. His knee is injured, and their 2 best players don't really play defense. Doncic and Kyrie Irving. I got someone like Gafford who shows they can play. He got 4 blocks last night. He plays defense, and some of the rest of the team plays defense. But the 2 best players doesn't set the tone. And OKC plays better defense than them, and they have more weapons on offense. So SGA was great last night. He scored 29 points. Chet Holmgren looks good. He may be the best white player born in the U.S. since Larry Bird. We'll see what happens. I have no problem with that label. He looks good. He plays defense. He scores offense. He can hit threes. He was 2 for 5 for 3. He scored 19 points. He had 7 rebounds and 3 blocks. They got a lot of weapons. They got Jalen Williams, scored 18 points. It's a good team. That's your pick to make the finals. I'm taking Minnesota right now. I love OKC. They got the second youngest team, and that I don't know if it's going to hurt them when it comes to Western Conference Finals. Right now they're playing a team that's overmatched, but when they're not playing a team that's overmatched like Minnesota, we'll see what happens with their youth. You're still taking OKC, right?
Oh yeah, of course. Do you think this youth movement now? You got a lot of young team players on these teams. Do you think the youth finally is starting to take over the league now? Starting to make the league more exciting? Definitely make the league more exciting.
I think there's more talent in the league right now than ever, and I think they need to promote the younger players more and just let I love Steph Curry and LeBron James, but just kind of let them go to the wayside at this point and just. They need to promote the other players more. They don't even promote Jokic. He's their best player in the league. They don't even promote him. I mean, I know he's not an exciting personality, but he's still the best player in the league. And they don't promote him either.
They got the 2 players at OKC on the commercial finally. But I mean, if you look at them, most people don't even know who they are. Like, who are these 2 guys?
Well, I think they're going to promote Anthony Edwards. He seems to be the guy they're going to promote, and I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, he's on a commercial. They showed him on a commercial. It's a pretty funny commercial, actually. It's a Sprite commercial.
He seems to have a good personality. He's got a charming smile, like I said before. He seems to be a nice guy, and he's a clean player. He's seems to have a good attitude, and he plays offense and defense. I have nothing bad to say about Anthony Edwards. You value defense, but you're still taking OKC against Minnesota.
OKC has good defense. Their defense is good. They're
not as good as Minnesota's.
No, but you said I'm taking, but they have good defense, and no slouches on defense. They had a lot of steals, a lot of blocks yesterday. If you're watching the game, their hands are always on the ball, so they played very good defense.
Yep. So we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to that series if it happens. They both have, obviously OKC has to win 3 more games and Minnesota has to win 2 more games, but it's not looking likely that that those two teams are not going to meet. Let's put it that way.
So it looks like Denver might your pick Denver, but it's not going to be in the finals. You're saying?
I do not think so. No. Well,
Yeah.
it doesn't help any that Jamal Murray is their second best player, but he's really close to their best player during the playoffs because he scores 7.5 more points and gets more assists and more rebounds, and he hits clutch shots. So he's really, really important to the team, and he is not 100%. And so I'm not going to jump on his case, but they lost 2 games at home, and I think even if he was healthy, the way that defense was, they probably would have lost.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I think I probably would have been wrong either way, but I would have liked to seen that series with him healthy because with that intense surrounding defense, that really exasperates his injury.
But I'm sure you're as surprised as me that they won 2 games in Denver. I mean, I'm totally surprised with that.
Yeah, I think everybody is. But
one, yeah, but to win 2, and then the manner of the way they won the game, that was really,
Anyway, okay, so that's what we have for the NBA playoffs. We get the Knicks. The Knicks are tonight, and only one game tonight. Then tomorrow night, you're going to have Cleveland and Boston again, and Dallas and OKC, and we'll see if they both go 2-0 or not. And we'll be back to talk about some games. Probably, I guess Saturday we'll do another video for you after Denver and Minnesota plays again. We'll see if that series is over with, and by that time the Knicks in Indianapolis will have 3 games under their belt. So Rob's got his Homer Knicks hat on, and I can't wait to see him cry when Indianapolis gets the benefit of the Knicks.
If the referees mess up my Knicks game, you'll see this hat inside out.
There's a lot of money in New York City, so refs can easily be paid off when they're actually reffing Knicks games, I think. Anyways,
but their defense is horrible.
Don't forget about our live show next Monday. We have some technical difficulties. Last Monday was our first test. We had it was an echo going on. It was actually a repeat, I guess we call it. But we're going to do it again on Monday, and eventually we're going to build that up to a really nice live show every Monday from 7 to 8, except for major holidays. And we'll see you then. All right, take care, everybody. Enjoy the playoffs.
Please subscribe.
Like, subscribe, make comments. Let us know if you think Rob's being a homer or not being objective.
Homer?
Homer. He watches too much of The Simpsons, and that's why he's always a homer.
Don't.
All right, Rob, you want to do your goodbye?
Peace out.
All right, see you later. Take care.